right, we're back on the air. Our next presenter is actually presenting remotely from California. From Speak to Leads, please welcome Sammy James, who is going to take over from here. Over to you, Sammy.
Hey, good. Let me just try to get my screen working, okay? Thank you. 1 second. All right. Okay, let me jump back. All right, does everybody see that? Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Mark, and thanks, Alan, and hello, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there. It would have been nice to meet everyone. Use my little bit of Portuguese that I know. So I'm going to jump right in. We are Speak to Leads. We're an application that was developed 6.5 years ago. We began the development, building on top of an agile platform. We chose Tropo as our voice API to work with after doing a lot of research, considering Twilio and others. But we determined that Tropo would best suit our needs, and we've been very happy. And as you know now, they've been acquired by Cisco. So things are always getting more interesting. So the problem that we solved, see if I can, was that, as everyone knows by now, most businesses rely on incoming internet leads to drive sales. Some rely on 100%. Others, it's part of their inbound, channel for developing sales. But in any regard, there's a real problem, and that is that folks are not responding to their leads fast enough or persistently enough, so those leads are going to waste, because there's an assumption that the sales team are doing a great job, and in some cases they are, but in most cases they aren't. And that's not necessarily their fault. It just has to do with the fact that they're overwhelmed by a lot of inbound leads, and they're just not able to respond to them at optimum intervals and quick enough. And speed is essential in order to capitalize on conversion. It's the number one driver. And in fact, if you don't, as you can see by this chart, if you don't call a lead, an inbound internet lead, within a minute, they're pretty much a cold call within 2 hours. So this is not something that is inherent. I mean, culturally, we just weren't born into this notion. It's something that has occurred as a result of everything flipping upside down 15 or 20 years ago, whenever Google came around and buyers started doing their own research and reaching out to companies. I'd say right now, when it comes to a form, or most folks, I'd say it's somewhere between, the numbers I've read, 50 to 75% of prospects will fill a form out versus making a phone call to a business. Because I think they kind of judge you on your response time, frankly, to see if you're how together you are. Okay, let's see if I'm having a little trouble getting a slide. There we go. So the other problem is that folks give up too early. They don't call leads enough. They might try, in fact, the average lead gets a call, I believe maybe 1.5 calls on average. So that's not enough. So it's kind of insane what's going on, given the investment people are making in leads, that they're not responding the way that they should. All right. I mean, 12% don't get any response at all. Pretty crazy. So speed, number one, got to call within 60 seconds. Every lead, every day, every time, because that boosts conversions by almost 400%. But yet only 1%, and this is the market opportunity, frankly, is only 1% of all leads get a call within 60 seconds. So the opportunity to improve sales and increase sales is huge, and our application addresses that. Okay, this just kind of repeats some of the things I've already said. One of the things that's really interesting is that about 85% of prospects will buy from the first company to call them, because it just telegraphs so much about that company. So this is what we developed, this application on top of Tropo, in order to provide consistent speed, persistence, and conversions. All right, and let's just jump through this. We've already kind of mentioned this, and by automating all of this, we now make it really easy, for any sales team to, work at an optimum level. Most of our clients, I mean, frankly, the market for this is probably small to medium-sized businesses. Enterprise, typically they have, a whole inbound call center set up, even though they don't always perform that well either. And we do have some large clients. But for the most part, this is like, solopreneurs and medium-sized companies that are maybe have a sales team of, 10 to 25 people, and, they're trying to optimize their opportunities. So we do all this, and what we've developed into the application is not only the automation of the phone call. We turn a form essentially into a call to the team, but we also automate the persistence at optimum intervals. Based on the study of 1 million leads, we know that every lead needs to be called up to 6 times to reach them. And that on their first day, you can see there are 3 calls that go out immediately, 30 minutes later, and then 2 hours after that. And we've also built texting in between the calls that happens automatically based on the call result. All right. So that all adds up to increasing conversions. And then we have a dashboard that we've built that measures every time we deliver a call into the sales team, we measure whether they answered the call from us, because we're going to tell them, and I can't demo this, I apologize to you there, but because I don't have we haven't set that up for Portugal, but we are international, but we just have to activate each country code separately. But anyway, the way when they hear the name of the lead, the nature of inquiry, the option to press 2 to call the lead, we track whether they actually do that or not, and then we track their connectivity. What percentage of the time do they press 2 to call the lead? What percentage of time do they actually connect with the lead? So that lets them see what they're getting in return for their effort, which is, I think, really valuable. So, as I said, if anybody fills out a form anywhere, then it gets posted to our application, which sits on top of Tropo, and then we tell them to press 2, and then they call the lead, and that's it. Boom. What we've done to grow as a business, like I said, we've been doing this for 6.5 years. We still haven't hit our inflection point because, frankly, we were way too early. But that's good because, in a way, it gave us all this time to develop, our app and learn the business very, very well. And we're over 1,000 features deep into our application now, and we've basically grown through partnerships with other complementary platforms and CRMs and marketing automation software. A few of these companies you might recognize, but and many more that we work with, all of them. But frankly, these are some of the bigger players that we have a great relationship with, and we generate a lot of business from, because their clients need us in order to optimize their conversions. And Zapier, which is a recent API integration, has enabled us to help people with their Facebook lead ads and other opportunities that exist out there. So there's an opportunity here for telcos. There's a few of you in the room, I suppose. So, I mean, this is just it's not Microsoft what is it, Office 360 or whatever, but it is a very complementary application to a telco company, but that does solve a business problem for a lot of the customers. And the margins, as you can imagine, are very, very good. The retention rate is very, very high because it adds a lot of value. We typically, we have no problem doubling, saying that we'll probably double the sales of any organization. Because when it comes down to it, it's very simple. If you don't speak to a lead, you can't close it. And by, enabling people to speak to more leads and speak to them faster, it's just huge, it's a huge difference maker. Okay. I'll let Doug speak to, Doug is our VP of Tech. He's on the line as well. I'll let him talk about the architecture real quick, just to kind of walk through that. Because are we out of time yet? All right. Doug, you want to talk about this?
Sure. This is Doug Kobayashi. I'm basically the tech person for Speak to Leads. And we pretty much try to keep it as simple as possible. A lot of our clients are small, medium business. They don't have a large tech staff or IT group. So we have essentially one API, web API, to generate call and essentially start the call sequence to the lead. And what we do is we make subsequent repeat calls if there is no connection with that lead, up to a configurable amount. For example, maybe 6 call attempts until the sales rep actually talks and speaks with the lead. We do have a couple web apps that are available for managing their call sequences. We have, admin and a self-service dashboard for them, customer to look at their phone results, call results, get reporting, do some kind of analysis on how long the calls are taking to reach the sales lead, and also, for them to configure their call routing, like how does the actual the input of the lead data trigger a call. For example, it may be coming from a location in Portugal, in which case we will then route the call to a time zone that is appropriate for leads in Portugal. And as Sammy already mentioned, we are based on Tropo, so we essentially use every bit of Tropo's API. Everything Tropo does, we do have a feature for, which includes generating the calls with particular caller IDs, international. We use the IVR to reach out to the sales rep, and we also have another type of phone call that calls the sales lead first, and that may be customizable IVR that they can configure through the dashboard or their self-service panel. We use the text-to-speech in different languages. Some of them Spanish, English, Spanish, German are examples of that. And we also do call recordings. And a note on that is that we're able to basically take that call recording and integrate with one of our partners who is called VoiceBase, and take that call recording and analyze it for things like compliance. So to be able to make sure that the sales reps are complying with certain regulations. Our application is essentially an open LAMP architecture, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. But other than that, very simple web API that we provide so that it makes it as easy as possible to integrate with Speak to Leads. One of our biggest, or one of our exciting integrations is with the Zapier that was mentioned earlier, which is an application that can essentially wire any application to any other application. And you can set up your own customizable workflow by just piecing together different applications as long as they are integrated with Zapier. So that opens up all sorts of possibilities so that we can integrate with any application that is integrated with Zapier, which includes Salesforce, Infusionsoft, pretty much hundreds, if not thousands of, I think, applications that are running on Zapier. So that's an exciting piece for us. Sammy, I think you can go ahead.
That's good. Thanks, Doug. And one thing Doug mentioned was our integration now with VoiceBase. And what we've done is develop a new feature that enables the salesperson to record notes after they finish their call with the prospect. Then the prospect hangs up, and there's a prompt that says, "Would you like to record notes for this call?" They record the notes and then hang up, and then those notes get transcribed into text and posted to the CRM, or to wherever they want to track their notes. Because one of the problems, again, with salespeople is that they don't like to take notes. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they're in their car, whatever the case may be. And this handles that problem as well. So we're trying to, and for the most part, this is used for leads, but there are other applications. We use it internally. If somebody doesn't show up for a kickoff meeting when we onboard somebody, they automatically, of course, get reminder emails. And if they ignore the email after a couple of days, then a call gets activated to our sale or to our integration team, and it says you need to call this guy and get them to book a time. So you can use anything to trigger a call for it could be escalating a chat to support from a live chat to a phone call. It could be an old leads that you want to make sure that you touch base with every 6 months. Maybe it's an upsell or a seasonal opportunity. So it isn't just about immediate leads, but that's the biggest application so far. Okay, so Tropo has been awesome, and this is not a sales pitch for them, but we were happy to always talk about good things about Tropo because it's been great to work with them, and it's enabled us, as Doug said, to do just about anything we want. We have some time for any Q&A?
Yeah, yes, we do. I guess what we'll try and do is I'll relay the questions to you so we get the audio correct. So do we have any questions for Sammy? Yep, question at the back of the room.
So normally we know that most of cloud providers like Trovo, Twilio, and Levo, they provide limited caps, call attempts per second. Mostly they provide one cap for the whole account. So how did they manage that? Did they get more? How they did manage such relationship with Trovo? Did they provided them with more than one caps, and how that was managed?
Right. So the first question we have is a lot of the cloud providers like Tropo have limits on, for example, the number of call actions per second they support for a specific account, call attempts per second. And the question is, how were you able to get around any limitations that Tropo may place on call actions per second?
Doug?
I think that our calling, we don't generate too many. I mean, one of the features we do use is simultaneous ringing, which we're able to simultaneously call groups of numbers, but those typically don't range more than, I think at most 20 is what one of our customers is using. Many of their leads come in maybe every minute, every couple of minutes, so we're not generating too many simultaneous or concurrent calls. I think most of the limitations, or many of the limitations, may be on SMS texting, and those are and not so much on the calling, as far as Tropo is concerned.
Thanks, Doug. Was there another question?
Yes. Normally, I just want to understand their charging, how they are charging customers, because you are transferring calls to Trovo, and the session control will be at their servers end. So how they are able to control the charging from their end as well, if it's pay as you go, for example, or it's post-paid, I don't know.
We just have a quick question about how your charging model is to your customers, because obviously you're placing calls using the Tropo APIs to your customers' sales reps, and then presumably they're placing calls to their customers. So how are you charging this? How are you charging the service to your customers? What's your model?
Yeah, because you're right. That is a two-legged call, so we get charged for each leg, and that's our cost. So you could say that we have a sort of a fixed variable cost. We don't know. Not all leads result in a connection. Some they do connect and talk for 20 minutes. Some talk for 5, and so on. We can't determine that. So what we've done is we just simply charge a flat rate per lead. Our fee, retail rate, is $1.25 per lead. We just raised that to $1.50 to include texting. We're experimenting with the pricing because frankly, there's we just had to make this up because 6.5 years ago, no one was doing this. We've created a few little competitors, but we're still pretty much the leader in the market as far as this standalone app goes. And so we kind of make up the prices as we go. But so we charge in a flat rate per lead, and whether they talk to the lead or not. The lesson learned many years ago when we were experimenting with this is we used to charge on a per connection basis. But what happened was users would use it as an alarm clock, kind of an alarm, and then they'd see the lead come in from us, hang up and then pick up the phone and dial so they wouldn't have to pay us. So we just cut that out, and we just say you're paying regardless.
Well done. Any other questions for Sammy or Doug? Sammy, I think you've had a very appreciative audience, so thank you very much, and thank you to Doug for presenting remotely. Great job.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks very much.